This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Hi friends, I'm Carrie Jo, and this is Holy Chuckles Podcast. This is a space for honest faith, lived experiences, and shining a light in the places we've learned to hide. I'm not here to explain faith. I'm here to live it out loud. So take a breath and let's make room for what's real. Welcome back to Holy Chuckles Podcast. I'm really glad you're here. This week I've been living in 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. In verse 8, the Lord called Samuel a third time, and Samuel got up and again went to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me?" At that moment, Eli realized it was God calling Samuel. Eli said, "Samuel, go and lie down. And if you hear the voice again, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" Samuel went and laid down, and he knew what to do if he heard the voice again. I've been talking about hearing the voice call my name, and it's the voices of my old patterns. But not only have I heard the voices of my old patterns calling my name, but God's been in there calling my name too. It's up to me to decide what voice I'm going to listen to. This week, I really realized which voice I was listening to. My patterns came at me in every single way that they could. My favorite story this week of one of my patterns coming at me was in the form of a sausage McMuffin. I needed to go grocery shopping, and I'm a fat kid. And if I don't eat something before I go to the grocery store, everything is going to look good, especially if I go to HEB. I'm getting everything. I got up early and said, you know what? I don't want to cook anything. I'm just going to run by Mickey D's, get a sausage McMuffin, eat it on the way, and that way I can get my grocery run done really early. It was between like 6 and 7 a.m. I'm in the drive-thru. I order my sausage McMuffin, and the price was wrong. I asked the lady who was taking my order. She was not helpful. When she redid it, the price got higher. So I said, you know what? Just go back to how you had it. I'll deal with it. It's a couple of bucks. Just going to live my life and move on because I'm not going to cause her chaos, and I'm sure not going to cause me chaos. Drove up to the window, and you could tell she was in a foul mood. This is the last place she wanted to be. I'm the last person she wanted to help. Probably not just me, anyone who went through the drive-thru. She just was not happy to be there. My old self, my old pattern would have tried to make a joke, would have tried to make her feel better, would have tried to make her laugh. I said, nope, that's not my business. I'm not taking on that. My little empathetic self would have said, but tell her a joke. She looks like she's in a bad mood. Maybe she's had a rough day. Just tell her a joke. Make her laugh. Make her feel better. But I can't take on that. I can't manage everyone's feelings and how everyone is doing. So I did my little Apple Pay. She told me to drive forward. I think she literally said, drive forward. I followed her instructions and I went to the next window. They handed me my food. Usually I don't check it. I mean, it's a sausage McMuffin, no egg with breakfast sauce. It's not usually that difficult. Sometimes they don't put all the breakfast sauce or any. Cool. I can live with that. I don't usually check my order, but for some reason, something told me to check the order. Hash brown was in there. My tea, it's a crapshoot if I'm going to get it half and half or if they're going to put more sweet than unsweet. I can live with it either way. But the reason that the amount was higher than what it should have been is because there was double sausage on there. I knew there was something wrong. That is way too much sausage for me to eat at 6 o'clock in the morning. Maybe 10, 11 a.m. I'm okay with double sausage, but 6 o'clock in the morning, no, I can't do that. Old patterns would have went one of two ways. I would have went ahead and just eaten it, made myself sick, not felt good, and just dealt with it the rest of the day. Another option, I would have peeled one piece of sausage off, but I would have complained about it and it would have stayed with me all day long because she was in a bad mood. She didn't take the order correctly. She didn't want to fix it. There were so many she didn't that I would have just held on to it for the rest of the day and let it kind of rule my day. Especially starting out that way, it would have definitely impacted how my day went. But instead, I pulled up a little further, took the sandwich inside, and asked for a manager. The manager came up, asked me what she could help me with. I said, I noticed when I ordered this, the price was different. I checked it before I left, and it's wrong. It has 2 pieces of sausage, and it has 0 breakfast sauce. She takes the sandwich from me. She's doing something on her register. She's calculating something on her phone. There's not any communication. She starts to open the register, and I'm grateful that she's giving me some money back. But I did say, is this sandwich going to be fixed? She replied in a very matter of fact, I don't want to be here. I don't want to deal with you type of voice and said, yeah, but I'm getting your money back to you first. I had to take a step back and say, oh, okay, nobody wants to be here. Okay, cool. That's what we're doing today. And I said, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Before we had this interaction about this sandwich, my old pattern called my name and said, you should tell them how to correct this. And I did say, hey, the girl in the window really doesn't want to be there. Maybe she shouldn't be. Then I heard something say, that's not your business. We don't work here. And the manager said, she doesn't really work mornings. She usually works evenings. She's not familiar with the menu or where everything is kind of on the register. She took my sandwich. She went to the back. She was gone for forever. The return of a sausage McMuffin is pretty quick. English muffin, throw some sausage on there, a piece of cheese, squirt a little breakfast sauce. We're good to go. Like 2 minutes, maybe max. I had time to walk around the lobby, then decide, oh, let me go try my tea to see if they made it too sweet. And if they did, I'll bring it back in and put the right portion of unsweet and sweet tea. Went to my vehicle, came back in, made the tea, went back, took the tea back, came back in, and the sandwich was still not there. So finally, she comes up and she said, here's your remade sandwich. Sullen face, still mad at the world. I said, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you working with me. I was going to eat the sandwich on the way to HEB, so I'm ready to go in and grocery shop. I opened up the sandwich while driving. This woman had applied so much breakfast sauce. Let's be honest, I'm a sauce person. I love sauces. But she put so much sauce on here. And I know that was her way of kind of sticking it to me. Like, I'm going to give this lady all the sauce because she wanted to come in and complain. She wanted to come in and tell me who I should be putting at the window. So I'll show her. I opened it up and I was like, wowzer, there's no way I can eat this while I'm driving. See, what that lady didn't know is that she just made me the best breakfast sandwich ever. Because every time I order my McMuffin, they either put very little sauce on it or no sauce at all. Now, she just made up for all the sauces that I never got. And I am thrilled. I am so stoked about this sandwich. If you touched the McMuffin, the sauce just went everywhere. That's how much sauce was on this sandwich. But I was okay with that because I love sauces. What this woman didn't realize is that she just made me the happiest person that morning. So all the trouble I went to, now this sausage McMuffin with this exorbitant amount of sauce was my payoff. And I was so thankful and grateful. What she didn't know is she just ran into a person that orders pizza because I want to eat ranch. It's just my vessel. Pizza is just my vessel for the ranch. Chicken fried steak is just my vessel for the gravy. The tortilla chip is just my vessel for the queso. I love sauces. I would prefer probably to eat sauces than eat a meal. If I'm eating pasta, please go easy on the pasta. I just want the sauce. Now, I'm sitting in HEB parking lot like a 5-year-old who just got the best dessert and has it all over her face, her hands, dripping down her arms. And I am the happiest kid. I am so stoked about this sandwich. Literally, I wanted to drive by that McDonald's and say, I know when you made this sandwich, you were mad at me. And I know you wanted to get back at me. And I don't care about any of that. But can I please have your name so every time I come here, you can make this sandwich just like this? Later on that day, I was watching a movie. And in that movie, a man said, that's a you problem, not a me problem. And I hit pause and I went, oh God, I am so proud of myself. I literally had a conversation with God. God, did you hear that? God, did you hear that? Because that morning when she said the lady at the window doesn't usually work that shift, she works the evening. My old pattern, my old self would have said, but that's a you problem, not a me problem. I used to say that shit all the time when it literally wasn't a me problem, but a you problem. But I didn't take the bait. I didn't take the bait in any of it because old me, even though I would have been excited about that sauce, old me would have understood why she did it. My old patterns would have understood why she put that much sauce on there. And I would have turned around and I would have flipped out at that McDonald's. But I have a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. I didn't fall for those old patterns that were calling my name. Instead, I was joyous for the amount of sauce that was on my sandwich. I didn't fall for those old patterns to say this is a you problem, not a me problem. I said, okay, can I have my sandwich fixed? That day, I started being cognizant of which voice I was listening to. Was I listening to my old patterns? Was I listening to the voice of proving, the voice of rescuing, the voice of validation, the voice of abandonment, or the voice of fear? And I realized that for the first time, I wasn't following those voices that were telling me to follow those old, destructive patterns. I started to become still and I started to listen. I started to get centered, get grounded. Even when I was in the parking lot of McDonald's, getting ready to go in to have my McMuffin battle, because in my past, that's what it would have been. It would have been a battle. I would have had to get ready. Like, I'm going to go in there and tell them what's wrong with this sandwich. Tell them how they treated me at the window. I'm going to go in and defend myself, defend my honor at McDonald's. But this time, before I went in, I took deep breaths. I breathed out. I said, okay, God, my sandwich is wrong. I just want my sandwich right. But I sat in my vehicle and I grounded myself. And I said, okay, God, let this experience be positive. Don't let me be an asshole. And sometimes that's what we have to say. Okay, God, this is new for me. This transaction of not wanting to go to battle over a stupid sandwich is new for me. Let me not fall into who I used to be. Let me not listen to those old patterns who call my name. Let me be your light. Let me be your vessel. Even in this moment with a McMuffin, let me glorify you and be more like you in this situation. Part of doing that is knowing when to shut up. At the register, when I realized she didn't want to have a conversation, she wanted to give me what she owed me and fix my sandwich and didn't want to hear anything else, I knew right then God was tapping me on the shoulder with his big God finger saying, don't say anymore. She's done with you. She don't want to hear it. Let her be. Stop irritating her. She's going to fix your sandwich. She gave you your money back. Let's just move on. And I knew not to say one more word except thank you. I appreciate you. And even when it took forever for the sandwich to be made, I knew not to say one word. Because sometimes being quiet is how God's telling us to respond. And that's very hard for me because I am going to defend my honor to the death. No one is going to get one over on me. But sometimes someone's just having a bad day. They're not trying to do anything but survive. Literally, they're just trying to survive the day. They're just trying to survive the hour. And looking back, the lady in the window who was not pleasant, the manager who could really care less about managing, they were just trying to survive the day. They had to be there. They had to pay their bills. They had to do what they needed to do for themselves. And part of that was just surviving the day. I think sometimes we forget that our fellow humans feel the same way that we do. Because sometimes we're just so caught up in what's going on inside us. We're so caught up in listening to the patterns that keep calling our names. We keep doing the same things over and over, not realizing we're not the only ones doing that. We're not the only ones trying to survive. That day, I didn't realize in that moment that they're just trying to make it through the day. But I leaned on God to help me not go back into my old patterns, which would have made their day even worse. And I can look back in my life and see on those days that I'm just trying to survive, how one more person, one more thing that had gone wrong would just throw me over the edge. And I didn't want to be that for them. I at least knew that. Maybe I didn't even know it. Maybe it was God just kind of pushing me along. That experience was also a victory for me. It was a victory because I had realized those old patterns calling my name. I wasn't listening to them anymore. I couldn't hear them calling my name because I had chose to act different. I had chose to be different. I had chose to hear God's voice instead of hearing the voice of those old patterns. And that was just last Sunday when that happened. And over the course of this week, things have happened in my life where I didn't choose to listen to the voice of the old patterns. I chose opposite. I chose a different route, a different way. I chose to get centered. I chose to listen instead of respond first. I chose to put myself in that person's shoes and say, what would I want? How would I want this person to treat me? I didn't walk out into the world last week ready to defend my honor. I put down my sword and said I could do this a different way. I wasn't ready to battle every single obstacle in my way. Instead, I just walked around it because there's always a different way. We can keep handling our shit the same way day after day, or we can choose a different way. I realized this week I put away my sword. I put away my armor because I didn't need to battle anymore. Because God stands in front of me all the time. There's nothing I need to battle. Every obstacle that came to me this week, wanting me to listen to my old patterns calling my name, wanting me to bring out my sword again, wanting me to act like the old Carrie Joe. Instead of doing any of that, I just kindly and politely walked around the obstacle. It was that easy. I was the one making it difficult. I was the one choosing to battle. I didn't even realize I could say to God, this obstacle is not going to get the better of me, and I'm not going to go backwards. God, here you go. You take this obstacle because you have the capability. When I try to take on this obstacle, I just create chaos, and I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm going to walk around it and leave this obstacle for you. God's like, cool, I got it. No worries. I'll catch up to you. God does his God thing because I allowed it. I didn't say, God, hold up. Let me see if I can battle this obstacle. And if I can't, then you can have it. But in my past, that's what I used to do. God, hold up. Let me see if I can do it. God's like, but Carrie Joe. And I said, no, God, wait. Let me do it. All I did in my past is create chaos because I wanted to handle it. God just had to sit back and say, oh, this is not going to end well. This is not going to make her feel good. But I got to let her because this is the way she wants it. But this time and going forward, it's like, yeah, I don't have to deal with that. Hey, God. God's right there going, got you. Got it. I just walk around the obstacle and say, obstacle, you're not dealing with me. You're dealing with God. And as I'm walking around, I say, thank you, God. I appreciate you. I just keep walking forward, one foot in front of the other. And I don't look back. I don't turn my head backwards so I can hear those old patterns. The only voice I can hear is God's. I've been so appreciative of these last couple of weeks. I've really been working on integrating that old Carrie Joe with this new Carrie Joe. That ego, that mask, that survival self with my authentic self, my true soul. I've been integrating them together and not even really realizing it, kind of flowing in and out of who I used to be to now who I am. Sometimes listening to those old patterns, other times saying, no, thank you, I'm not listening to that voice, to where now I'm right here, where I know those old patterns have no control over me. I'm right here in my life, where now, when I hear my name, I reply, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.